All right. Hello. Hello. How is everyone doing? Let me go ahead and put up my YouTube video just on the side here. I thought I had it up, but apparently I did not. And hope everyone is doing well. I think I saw Aged Boomer. Now, actually, let me mute myself. All right. There we are. Now, Aged Boomer, you were not first. Daniel was first. I saw him, I think, a couple hours prior. Hello, Owen. So, Aged Boomer, Daniel, Heron, and Owen Lister, thank you guys for coming. I do appreciate the support. It's going to be a pretty casual discussion, not as long, not as extensive as my topic on art, but I still will talk about art tonight and what I think about it. I think this will be my last stream on art in general, what my thoughts are on art in general. So last week, I pretty much set that groundwork for why I believe art is subjective, why I don't believe it is. I did say objective, right? I'm second guessing myself. Why I believe art is objective, why it's not subjective, but what about art is subjective. And that thing about art that is subjective is very important. So yeah, let's kind of just ease our way in, take a look at the chat. So yes, hello, Aged Boomer. You are not officially first in the chat, but you are first as we see. And actually, I had Vax there too, so maybe he'll come back, or she. I actually don't know if it's a he or a she. And hello, Daniel, and Owen Lister, and Annette Picelli. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. And yes, you're actually fifth. Daniel was first like 2 hours ago. Oh, good. Troy will be on. Great. Yeah, Troy and Al, they ask great questions just to keep the stream going. Daniel Heron says, well, let's go ahead and I appreciate this very much. $1,000 super chat for a 12-hour live stream. Now, would you pay me $1,000 to perform 12 hours straight? Who's that one crazy drummer? Michael WK, I think his name is. Insane guy. I don't even know who he plays for, but I think a few years ago he went 24 hours straight on drums. You'd have to pay me more than $1,000 to do that. Oh wow, we've got a lot of people. Thank you guys for coming in. Yes, hello, welcome to the stream. DRY Designs Network. Now I have to say it. I always feel bad for the prof for saying that lengthy name. It's not a bad name, but I'm thinking, oh man, at least I don't have to say it, but now I do. Hello there. Yes. Thank you for the thumbs up. I don't say, please share, like, and subscribe. Maybe I should, I don't want to say smash that like button or whatever. I think that sounds kind of silly. Hello, Crispy. Nice to see you. And okay, very interesting. Geeks and Gamers did a 24-hour marathon one time for charity. Wow. What was that about? Was it him just ranting for 24 hours, or was he doing something like was he gaming? Was he commentating? Different things like that. And all right, good. Let's see. It used to be worse. He had to pronounce my last name. Oh, interesting. Okay, so your last name is harder to pronounce. Well, that's cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate that. All right, so it looks like we've got people greeting each other. Yeah, it feels nice. Thank you guys for coming. And of course, I always have to check, is the audio fine? Do you need it boosted up louder? Or, oops, let me go ahead and hide this comment. Sounds good, looks good, everything's fine. All right. Oh, and yes, let's go ahead and say that, Mr. Aged Boomer. What art is good art? Not The Last of Us 2. I'm assuming it's Last of Us 2, not The Last of Us 2. Thank you, Nanette. I appreciate that. I don't have to post all the comments. I just like doing it. Yeah, this will be pretty casual. I'll have notes, but this is just a informal criteria I've established for myself as an artist on something that helps me determine what good art is. But actually, I think this is for anyone. I think using this criteria of sorts, I think anyone, and I mean anyone in the whole wide world, can determine what good art is. Now, a lot of people are uncomfortable with this idea. I see this thought tossed around, where people are uncomfortable with the idea of good art and bad art. Now, we have to establish something. There's art out there. It's art. It's everywhere. But yes, there is art that is produced better, that is created with maybe perhaps a better method, or created in a way where the results are better, where the results are excellent or above excellence, or at least live up to standards. And I think that's important. I think artists should abide by that idea, or adhere to that idea. They don't have to, but I want to throw in some ideas that I think could help anyone understand what good art is. This is very informal. These are just my opinions. And I think with that, we'll take it away. I'm sorry. Last of Us 2 is a video game that's coming out. The story got leaked. Many are calling it needlessly dark. Yeah, that's something else too. When it's needless, when something is thrown in, that's just not quite necessary. They just do it for that thing's sake. Yeah, I can understand maybe in the form of a parody or something, but if something is, I don't know anything about this game, but if something is unnecessary, that's where I'm thinking, oh well. Owen Lister says, is splashing paint on a big canvas considered good art? Because I don't. No, it's not. And actually, let's front the criteria with this. I agree with you. No, it's not good art, even if it looks beautiful to behold. So this would fall right under my criteria. So let's go ahead and get started. Aged Boomer, if you don't mind, I will come back to that question, and we'll take it away. I don't think this is going to exceed 10 or 15 minutes. I was hoping my last lecture was only 10 or 15 minutes, and I checked the video, it was like 35 minutes. So this will be much more casual. And again, these are thoughts, these are opinions. Feel free to agree, disagree, leave your thoughts, share your ideas, what you think. And I think we'll go ahead and take it away. All right, so no disclosure. I think I'm just going to get right to it. So how can you determine what art is good art? Well, I was thinking about this. As a composer, as a violinist, someone who's been in the artistic circle, someone who's been in the profession, in the higher education for a number of years. And I've come to the point where, art is not as complicated as people may make it out to be. Maybe people assume to be. So I have two lists that I composed. And these two lists have 3 components each. And one list pertains to the audience, the viewer, or the listener, in the case with music. And the other list pertains to the artwork. And I'm going to start with the list that is the audience. And this list, 3 components, it's actually, regarding the audience, it's actually something that the audience doesn't need. So 3 things, 3 components that actually are in the negative, that the audience doesn't need to understand good art. So let's get started. So the audience, you, me. 3 things that I know we for sure do not need to understand good art. The first thing is education. education of any kind, higher education, art lessons, different things like that. I'm a music teacher, by the way, and I came from higher education. I wanted to be a professor for the longest time. So I was that, eternal student. I loved being a student. So I love education. I'm a proponent of good, sound education. But you don't need education. You don't need art education to understand what good art is. Education will cultivate your understanding, your knowledge of art. It can better the experience, but it isn't necessary to determine what good art is. For instance, I don't need to go to film school. I don't even need to take a film class, not one single class, to know what a good film is. Education, like it is with music theory and analysis, is supplemental. So I have a higher education that's invaluable to me as a composer. But you don't need any amount of education to enjoy a Beethoven symphony. You don't need to have acumen or credentials to go to a concert hall and be, mystified and enchanted and just enthralled with opera, for instance. So education is the first thing. That's the first component. It's the thing that you don't need as a viewer, as a listener, to understand if it's good or not. The second thing is experience. This kind of falls in line with education, but this is a little bit more specific outside school. And that is, you don't need to have absorbed hours of art to understand what art is. Again, it betters your experience in the form of analysis if that's what you choose, but you don't need to have seen and absorbed thousands of art pieces to understand what good art is. You don't need to have visited hundreds of museums and visited hundreds of exhibitions, to see why Da Vinci's Last Supper has held its own all these centuries. I don't need to visit Edward Hopper or an exhibition of his works, of his paintings, to understand he really knows how to paint. He knows how to do it well. He knows light. He knows how to cast light on a certain object or a person. He knows about negative space. And I use those terms, negative space. That is more of an artistic term to use. But I can understand it. I can sense it. I can get it. Not having any art lesson or painting lesson. I don't need to be a painter to understand his great work. I don't need to know much about color theory or anything about color theory, anything about how light casts on something, how light reflects, to understand, wow, this painter really knows how to work with light. I can use the example of the American painter Daniel Charles Gross, for instance. So that with education, experience, you actually don't need to absorb thousands of hours. You don't need to absorb that. Now, it's beneficial if you want to discuss art and use references and all that, but to actually be moved by a magnum opus, a great work, you don't need experience. You don't need education. Those things are supplemental. And the third component may sound a little far-fetched, but that is, you don't need an opinion. You actually don't need an opinion about a piece to understand whether it's good or bad. It's because the artwork stands on its own, whether you like it or not, whether you have an opinion of it or not. So maybe the ceiling paintings of the Sistine Chapel, maybe that's not your thing. But that's not to say, even if you have no opinion of them or a poor opinion of them, that's not to say that they are subject to your opinion. They will stand above you in the Sistine Chapel as magnificent pieces of work, of painting, of art. So that's what you don't need as an audience to understand what good art is. You don't need education, formal education. You don't need art lessons. I teach music. I know. Not education, not experience, and not even having an opinion. I know that sounds, the third one sounds a little bit, meta, if you will. But I think people have a natural, innate resonance to something, even if they're not sure what it is. I think it can happen on a subliminal level. I can know the details of music theory and analysis to understand, wow, this is how Mozart went from one section, or, the musical thesis, if you will, and this is how he moved into, the midsection, the digression, as we call it. Oh my goodness, he went through the circle of fifths this way. That's so cool. That keeps the momentum. But that's handy for me as a composer. But the person could still feel the momentum, not having taken any music classes. So that's what I mean for the audience. And the second list, which is also comprised of 3 components, has to do with the artwork itself. Now, this is just my opinion as an artist, so feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I should get used to saying that, right? All right, so the second list is the artwork. So the first list was the audience. The second list is the artwork. The first thing you can understand to determine what is good art is that the artwork has to have a level of skill behind it. I would go so much to say as it should have a level of mastery behind it. But the better the skill, I think, the better the art. I know that's a bold statement, but I've done violin for 3 years. 3 years? I've taught violin for 3 years. I've done violin for 23 years. So I know what it takes to build that proficiency, to get that quality violin sound, to move people with my violin. So that's the first thing, a level of skill behind the art, but I would say even better, a level of mastery behind the art. Masterpieces or things done masterfully, like a superb performance, like in an opera or in a symphony or in a concerto, that inspires people. And so you can understand good art composed well. It connects with our psyche. Good art connects with our psyche, our spirituality, on some level. And I think that's done most likely. I think that's done best when there is excellence involved. I had said the example, I think, about the Olympics last week, where, I don't have to know a thing about sports. I don't have to know anything about what it's like being an athlete, their lifestyle. But when you see them achieve something great, it really is inspiring. And I think, especially in times like these, I think we need inspiration. I think we need people inspiring other people, that sense of building morale. And I think good art does that. So that's the first thing, a level of skill behind it, a level of proficiency, and I would say even more, a level of mastery. For instance, before I get on to the next point, I'm nowhere near where I want to be as a composer, but I will produce what I can to the best of my abilities now, but no way near where I want to be with my music. So that's homing in and working through my craft in the process. And it's been a 7-year process, and I've got a long way to go. But until then, I will do the best, what I know as a composer, and what I know with sound and all of that. So yes, to repeat, that's the first thing, a level of skill behind it. The second thing is, I believe good art must adhere to the ideal of some kind regarding aesthetics, form, color, harmony, things that represent the world or imitates the world. It could be the natural world. It could be the internal world, like introspection. And that's not to say that you can't have ugliness in art. I think art can deal with very ugly ideas or ugly concepts, like, I think I've used the example like war, or disjointed lines and shapes and different things like that. And I do believe, actually, we need that dichotomy. We need ugly with beauty. We need contrast. We need light with dark, and all of those things. We don't have to say the technical terms. We do understand the world with those comparisons. We understand the world to have opposite relationships. So that's not to say it all has to be pretty or mind-blowingly beautiful. It can have elements of ugliness in it. It can still be good art. Actually, I'll use the Rite of Spring, for instance. It's a masterpiece. It's a brilliant piece of orchestral music, and it's got disjointed, asymmetrical meter just flying all over the place, especially the last movement where the Virgin is about to be sacrificed, and it's doing very complicated meter. The orchestra is just all over the map there's no sense of beat. Well, no, that's not true. There is a sense of beat, because the conductor's there, but it's so off. It's a total imbalance of things, but that is still very good art. So yes, include the ugly. Now, I think ugliness is also a portrayal of the absence of beauty. So we have to have those comparisons to have it be good art. But I do think it, in some way, adheres to the ideal, as we had, those examples I'd used, aesthetics, form, color, harmony, consonance versus dissonance. Nothing stochastic because we don't understand randomness. That might be for another story or another video. Yeah, actually, that will be for another video. I have an idea for that. All right, so before I go on other tangents, the first two components, level of skill behind the art, and it must adhere to the ideal. Now, this third, I was about to say second, the third component of what I think can make really good art is that whatever the art, visual, music, whatever the case may be, the art must stand apart from the idea behind it. The idea, even if it's a good one, even if it's an excellent one, even if it's a thought-provoking one, the idea does not validate the quality of the art. It doesn't make art good just because the idea is good. So an example I'm thinking of is, let's say you see an old tattered couch in the middle of an exhibition, and it's an expression of the denigration of domestic living in the 1970s. Just an example there. Well, what is it without the idea? It's an old tattered couch from the 1970s. There's nothing that you've done. I mean, unless you actually built the couch or maybe had a form of expression with your handiwork, unless there's a mode of handiwork involved. But if you just, get a couch from the flea market, plop it in an exhibition, say, we had trouble in the 1970s. No, it's just a couch. And if you have that scenario, the idea is nothing more than a statement which you can tell me. You could tell me what was wrong with the domestic living. This is, by the way, an abstract, arbitrary example that I threw in there. The point is, it doesn't matter if the idea is good or the idea is thought-provoking. If the art cannot stand apart from the idea, it's not good art. It is art. I don't think it's good art. An example, I'll use music as an example for this idea that the idea must be separated from the art for the art to be established as a good piece of art. We learned something in college in music school called programmatic music and absolute music. Now, with programmatic music, there is an idea behind the music. There's a story. Maybe it's a poem. Maybe it's a drama. Maybe it's a folk tale. And so the music enhances that experience for the audience. Maybe it's a singer and a pianist. Pictures at an exhibition by Mussorgsky, where every movement of the orchestra has an illustration. Symphonie Fantastique by Berlioz. This kind of poetic idea between movements of this woman, of unrequited love. While those ideas are insightful, or intriguing, I should say, those pieces stand on their own. Those pieces are well composed. Now, the program is engaging, it's supplemental, but if Mussorgsky did not compose pictures at an exhibition well, and it was left for the audience to see the illustration, and he did a subpar job, it probably wouldn't be as performed as much. Well, I don't know if it's performed much now. I think it's a great piece. I think it's a terrific piece of music. Oh, I'm sure. Well, there are recordings. I don't think I've seen an orchestra do it, but I've heard recordings. Anyway, but his art, the whole point is his art, his music, it's well composed. Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique, as engaging and as fantastical as the idea behind it is, it's the music that stands on its own. Yes, the idea is important, but it's not what qualifies that music composition. Now, on the other hand, we have absolute music. Absolute music has no program behind it. It's just music as it is. And I can't think of a better example than Tchaikovsky's Serenade for Strings. In fact, I might put that in the chat when I'm done here. Tchaikovsky's Serenade for Strings, and it's not because I'm a string player, but it is a seminal piece for string ensemble. It is beautiful. I highly recommend a listen. It's about 20 to 22 minutes, and you can read the score along the way. Well, I mean, I never mind. I'm used to reading scores and analyzing scores, but it's beautiful. The score is beautiful. It scrolls really fast. But anyway, I did play this ensemble piece before, and there's no program, but it's so well done. But whether it's programmatic music or absolute music, it stands on its own. Without the idea behind it or with the idea behind it, it stands on its own as great music composition. So it's pretty informal. It's, this criteria is actually, I think, really allows us to understand that all art has the potential of being good art. So for the audience, for you, for me, what we don't need is education. We don't need experience. And we don't even need an opinion. We can, the opinion, again, a little meta, if you will. But I think that ties in with that subjective nature of our experience with art. Whether we like it or not, we can still say, oh, I enjoyed that. That probably fell short. Or I didn't like that, but I know it's brilliant. So that's what I mean by your opinion. So education, experience, and even your opinion, you don't need to understand what good art is. For the artwork itself, I do advocate this idea that it does need a level of skill. It can be intermediate, advanced. The best case scenario in my book is having mastery behind it to make it what it is. But it does, whatever the case may be, it should have a level of skill. It should adhere to an ideal, including ugliness, including contrast, and all of that. But it should adhere to the ideal of some kind in some way. And also it should stand, the artwork should stand apart from the idea behind it. The idea could be a mode of inspiration for the artist or for possibly for people to engage on a subjective level of experience. But if the art does not meet expectations of good quality from things that have come before it or contemporary pieces of art surrounding it, got to be careful. We got to be careful with that. It's not the idea that makes the art. It's the actual artwork itself. So those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. This is my channel. If you think I'm wrong, please let me know in the chat. But yeah, so hopefully you like that. If you need clarification, a recap, just let me know. I'll keep those those notes handy, and we'll go ahead and take it away. All right. I ate salmon tonight, so brain food, so ask me anything. All right. Oh, yeah. So actually, is it coming? There it is. All right. Owen Lister, yes. Let's actually talk about that. Splashing paint on a big canvas considered good art? No. I'm personally not inspired by someone being able to do it on a whim. So I'm a musician. I have spent pretty much most of my life in music, I have gained a level of proficiency that can bring value to people because of the amount of practice I've put in my understanding music and also my violin playing. And I love to do it. I love performing for people. You might see something next Monday. Watch out for that if all goes well. But yeah, I love performing, but I've put in the hours to get to this level of proficiency. I'm not a painter. I'm not a painter. So if I see a piece of art in an exhibition and it's got like a smudge, like a sponge, just smudging black ink on a white canvas or something, and then maybe like a line, I can do that. That's not inspiring. And it's more of a statement. I think the splashing paint on a big canvas, even if it looks great, even if it looks cool, I don't consider it art. I don't consider it quality. I want a painter. Now, it could be a person who's learning painting and maybe just working on their craft as they go. Maybe it's not a master painter. I'm not sure. But anything I see in an art exhibition that I can do, having no practice and no skill, no. Now, when I say experience and education, I mean myself as the viewer. But when I do think education and experience is very important for the artist. Again, you do not need music theory analysis to understand how, you don't need to understand how, let's see, how do I say it? You don't need music theory to be excited when Mozart takes you from one place to another. Like, wow, how do you do that? Maybe you're asking how he did that, and maybe you can look at a score like, oh, that's cool. But again, you can enjoy a symphony without having any musical education or experience. So that's for the recipient of the artwork. You don't need education or experience as a recipient. Me, as an artist, I feel personally responsible to use the best of my ability and the best of my knowledge at this point in my life to give you value. So hopefully that answered some questions, or a question. Have you read fiction that's too dark? Well, I read, well, I don't read as much. I need to get back into it. Reading science fiction, and man, it's dark. Actually, one of my favorite books is the second work that I read. Alfred Bester, The Demolished Man. So good. A book. So good. But I really am reluctant to recommend it as a Christian because it's very dark. It's very decadent. I hate that it's so good. It's such a good story. And it's well written. Everything just happens so just in your face. The Demolished Man. Now, as a Christian, I don't think I could consciously, with good conscience, I should say, recommend it. But as far as the story, as far as the writing, I mean, it was dark. I don't like science fiction that goes dark just for my own conscience sake. So yeah, the science fiction I've read has been very dark. And elements like Brave New World is dark, or Brave New World, I'm thinking of 1984. I mean, that's also quite dark in the form of dystopia, but it's got an elemental truth to it, as I remember. So now I'm not against writing evil in my stories. I'm not against writing people doing wicked things and being wicked because there's just wickedness in the world. But there's a way to write that wickedness. And I can't write in a certain way that I think is sinful. And I think Bester, like, I'm not, poking at him. But like, what was his other book? No, that's not Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Star is My Destination. That was not as good as The Demolished Man in terms of story, but yeah, there's a lot of anger in his writing. His main characters are anti-heroes. But man, Demolished Man had a beautiful ending. It was sad. It was sad, but I cried. So I'm not against writing wickedness in stories. But I think as a Christian, there's a way I can do that. I can be very clean with my language, but also go into the absurd as well. So it really depends on how it's written. Hey, y'all. I can't stick around, but just wanted to give thumbs up. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm sure you're not here to say thank you, or for me to say thank you to you, but thank you, Stephen. I'll try to catch you on Twitter or office hours. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't play games as like I mean I played Super Nintendo as a kid. Yeah, I don't get the spoilers. I don't get the whole hype of being the first to tell people what happened or what happens. I don't get that. I think I got the first caught wind of that when I was on Facebook a long time ago, and it was about the ending of Harry Potter, the second installment of that seventh book, the film, and like it was just everyone wanted to tell the whole world what happened. It's like there's some people just don't want to be spoiled like that or wanted to spoil. Yeah, actually, I agree. Oh man, I found this quote that I think is from Giuseppe Verdi, which is he's an Italian composer for Italian opera in the 1800s. And I want to link the quote to him, but I was looking for it. Maybe it was Puccini too. I felt like it was one of the composers. And I can't ascribe this quote to either of them because I just couldn't find it. But whoever said it pretty well. And what did they say? It was, art that lacks simplicity and spontaneity is no longer art. Now that might be a real hard, rigid standard, but I don't mind simplicity. And you can be spontaneous, and you can, redirect the listener or the reader or the viewer in very engaging ways. But it doesn't have to be complicated. Oh man, I'll try to remember this example. I don't think I have the brain power to talk about it on the fly unless I'm triggered. But yeah, well, actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and talk about this example, and I'll catch up with chat. Art is only as complicated as you make it. I think so. In terms of viewing, I think you're suggesting yes. People think people don't understand art. I think people do understand art. People might not be into art. You don't have to go to an exhibition. You don't have to go to an opera house. But I think people understand art because art is everywhere. It could be found in. It could be well done, like a well done blockbuster film. So art is more prevalent, I think, more accessible than people think, and by people I mean artists. So that's that. I will tell you an example. I remember yeah, I will forget this example. This is important. Forgive me. But when I was a music student, I got to know a music theory professor. His name was John Ron. He's still around. And I liked him a lot. He had a colleague and a contemporary who was a pretty prestigious music theorist called Benjamin Boritz. And Benjamin Boritz wrote a piece. It was about, I think it was 16, 18 minutes long. I can't even remember what it was about. I think it was about a dragon. That's all I remember. But with that piece actually came a scholarly analysis, I believe, written by John Ron. And John Ron was a theory professor at the University of Washington at the time. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll look at his analysis. This looks cool. And the analysis was really impressive. It was like, wow, this is insane how Benjamin Boritz did this and established this. But what was happening and what I was starting to see was that Benjamin Boritz was using theory to compose a piece, but he was a music theorist. He was not a composer. people say he's a composer, that would just say his it's just not good. So I was thinking, oh, this is a pretty interesting analysis. This is a really in-depth analysis by Professor Ron for music theory, for his colleague, his contemporary. And then I ended up listening to the piece. I read the analysis first, then listened to the piece, and it wasn't good. And I remember presenting this to the professors at a composer's workshop, where the student composers, if they have ideas, they want to present something. And I said, hey guys, I have an idea for Friday. Can I talk about something? Can I ask a question? And I went over the analysis, and John Ron was their colleague, in person, because it's the same building. So it's not even someone from a different state. This is they see each other. And it's like, I read this analysis from John Ron on this piece, but what do you guys think of this piece? Because I'm not inspired. I'm not engaged. Like, and this is me at like 24, 23 years old. And I'm like, does it suffice if it's a great analysis? I mean, does that make the music good? And I can't remember what they said. I just remember they weren't really defending the piece of music, but they weren't going against it. And I think it was probably because of pressure, because it was a colleague of theirs that had done the analysis. But it doesn't matter, the analysis. It could be the coolest, most complicated thing in the world. And if the output, if the result is not good, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So it was a music theorist, composing a piece of music based on theory he knew. Doesn't make it a good composition. So I was a little befuddled. Those were one of my moments where, as an undergrad, I was a bit bemused by that. But I didn't take theory as seriously after that. Like, oh, because it's good theory, I mean, it must be good music. No. The composer knows the rules, and they can compose with what's been established and what's been before them. But yeah, you can know a little bit of theory and produce great work. Well, hello, Evren. Nice to see you. I'm glad it popped into your feed. I wonder if you do SuperCollider, Logic Pro, something like that. Hopefully you enjoy. Evren looks Icelandic? Dagdelian? I'm assuming it's Icelandic, but I don't know. Welcome, Troy. Nice to see you. So bottom line, anyone can enjoy art without a formal education. But to create art, one needs first to understand the basics, and you bet better with experience. Yeah, actually, for the artist, that's it is beneficial. It is supplemental for the artist to have at least practice. Maybe not formal educational training, but enough practice. I mean, I listen to a composer quite frequently, Stefan Torto. He's based in Greece, and well, actually, I will write his name there. Hopefully, I can go back to chat. Stefan Torto, based in Greece, and he was self-taught, and his stuff is awesome. His electronic stuff is awesome. I've listened to some music videos of women singing and playing cello, and it's nice sounding, but it's not like his electronic stuff. His electronic stuff is really creative. All right. Oh, I moved up way too far. Okay. Do. Owen says, good art needs to tell a story. Otherwise, what's the point? Yeah, I think to an extent. Now, me coming from a place of being a musician and a composer, I think you can establish your own narrative in your head with music. So, I mean, art in the form of music, there are great pieces of music that have no story behind it. Maybe you're thinking of narrative, like an actual flow. That could be too. I mean, where you can generate ideas with your head. Oh, this is somber. This is like the awakening. The dawn. Coming to awaken the world. Maybe a wooded area. You get that image with what you hear. Maybe you think of something more subterranean, like, oh, this feels like this would be within the earth or underwater or something like that. So as far as narrative, yes. And I think good art, regardless if there's an actual story behind it, can be used for inspiration for a story. Whether you do comic books, I do science fiction, so that is definitely true. I mean, some of the music I listen to is actually meant for dance, within this massive group. But I don't dance. I don't go to these huge concerts, but they do inspire me to do some world building for my fiction. Oh, well, I know this isn't for me. So we were actually beginning Clone Wars today. Oh, thank you for stopping Clone Wars. You mean season 7? Are you guys going to talk about that for office hours? Um, that ought to be interesting. But thanks. I'll try to keep it under 90 minutes, depending on where the chat takes me. But you're not obliged. You can, you know, you can watch Clone Wars. But you always ask good questions too. No pressure. All right. Troy says someone previous asked about random dots of. You mean paint on a canvas, right? Random dots of paint sounds conceptually interesting. Yeah, anyone seeing that sees a lack of skill and proficiency and goes, eh. I mean, yeah, like, if the dots are in some ways a demonstration of skill to compose something, I remember, like, as an elementary student, like, you'd have, like, for Thanksgiving, for instance, and then you would try to do a lot of dots from a Sharpie. And so the outline would be really, really, really thick, and then you kind of get it sparse to convey shadow. I remember some people doing that really well. But yeah, I mean, like, don't give me a Sharpie, right, on a canvas and say, just do whatever. And then I do that. Like, it's art. No, let's sell it for $1 million. That is mocking people. And I'm not about that. That is mocking the intelligence. Oh, hello. Welcome aboard, Wolf 10 Media. Very good. A lot of exchange back and forth. DRY Designs Network says, music plays an important role in movies, fitting in with the scene. Yeah, I say, as far as film goes, well, film is a real tough one. I've been listening to a couple operas over the last few days, and so much work goes into making that opera an iconic experience. It's not just set work. It's not just the acting, the costume. It's not just the cues and the transitions. I mean, it's all of that to make that story come alive on stage. It's the same way with film. I think music really can enhance the experience. I'd be interested if you guys had any examples of movies that fell short as far as story, but was epic as far as music, or vice versa, had a great soundtrack, but fell short as far as story and everything else, including acting and set designs and all of that. Or screenplay, I should say. What's funny about your tattered couch example is not only could you communicate the idea with words, you could probably express it better. Bad art and bad choice of medium. Yeah. Like, what about, like, a montage of photography? Good photography that would demonstrate that. Chances are you didn't make that couch. In fact, if I ever saw something like that and the audience, the artist of that piece was standing right next to me, I'd go, like, did you make that? And if he did or she did, then okay, And they might have done a good representation that way, but not buying it from a flea market and hauling it over there. That's not cool. And I've seen stuff like that. It's just, nope. This stream is wanting me to listen to classical music more. Well, good. Actually, you know what? So I was telling DRY. By the way, is it DRY or is it dry? I'm fine with saying both, but let me know what you think. Yeah, this stream actually will probably touch more on music since that's my specialty. I wanted to talk about a couple things of what I believe art to be and have commentary on art. And I would love to use music examples. Really, that's my specialty. And then you guys, if you guys had ideas about, comic book writing or, filmmaking or whatever your media is, maybe we can find parallels, because I think we will find parallels, because art is all encompassing in that respect. Yeah, I will make recommendations. Oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and I'll give you 2 pieces to start on. The first one, if I can spell his name right, Foray Pavan, Opus 50. It's short and it's beautiful. And I'm actually going to try to do a MIDI score so I can play it for you on violin and have like a very simple accompaniment. So Pavan is great. And then the example that I gave in my little brief lecture there is, wow, can I not spell these guys' names? Tchaikovsky Serenade for Strings. This is longer, about 21 minutes, depending on how fast the ensemble plays it, but it's good. It's good. And that's absolute. So Pavan is, I believe, the French word or music, not style, but it's the word used for death. It's a dance for the dead, I believe. And then Serenade for Strings, as it implies, the string ensemble is serenading you with awesome music. It's pretty good. It's pretty athletic too. It takes a lot of stamina to play a piece like that. Yeah, if you guys ever want recommendations of popular classical pieces of music, let me know. Hello, Amy. Welcome. Glad to have you aboard. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, just let me know. What about Martin's chair on Frasier? I've only seen a few episodes of that show. That set piece said volumes about the difference between Martin. Okay, well, yeah, that's an example of good storytelling, and that is art. That is artistic. I wouldn't say the chair itself, but putting it in that context. Oh yeah, that's well done. That's good filmmaking. That's good storytelling in the film, in the picture. Yeah, very, very good example. And thank you for allowing me to make that distinction. Owen says, as a music lover, what are your thoughts on Skrillex, more specifically dubstep? 1 second. I have listened to Skrillex. I gotta go back to listening to his stuff. He is mainstream. As experimental as he is, he's mainstream, which is cool. I have to listen to him again because I have an idea of what he sounds like, but he could change over the years. I don't think I've heard his stuff in probably 3 or 4 years. Dubstep is a genre I don't personally listen to. I don't compose. I composed an atonal piece, a 12-tone dubstep piece in college. I still have it on file. Maybe I'll share it. It's really zany. I think I called it Cyborg Gone Mental. It's a minute piece, 12-tone, and I can talk about 12-tone at another time, a form of 20th century composition writing. Totally random, no consonant dissonant relationships. It's just 12-tone, but it's dubstep. I asked my professor. He's like, okay, here's what I want you to do, and he says you can do anything. And I was working in just started electronic music toward the end of my master's. And I asked in class, I'm like, can I do dubstep? And I remember like even my friends, they're like, you know. And then my professor says, sure. And he said, we're going to present them. I'm like, oh, great. I don't have to get a musician to play. I'm going to do this on the computer. And then he said, oh, we're not going to do it anymore. I'm like, I want to play this dubstep in the class. Can I present it? It's like a minute. And he relented. And so the class, the graduates were listening to my 58-second dubstep, atonal dubstep. Atonal is not tonal. It's outside tonality. It's outside consonants. It's outside what we had established. Well, this is a 20th century technique. It's not really approached that much anymore. Not outside the academics anyway. Well, I don't want to say that. I'm sure people outside the States, maybe in Scandinavia and Germany and different places like that, still, I'm sure some circles adhere to atonality, but it's not really a popular form of composition. You know, though, I'm fine with dubstep if it's done well. You know, I want it to be done well. I don't need it to dance, you know. Yeah, it's anyway. I wonder if I think Lindsay Sterling, the violinist, I think her genre is EDM. Is it dubstep? Maybe I've lost maybe I've forgotten what dubstep is. I think I have a specific example in my head. Aged Boomer says, have you ever disagreed with the consensus as far as a piece of music is concerned? I mean, you mean against a general population? Could you clarify? And I will try to remember this moment, just in case it's so far down the chat that I forget the context. Is that what you mean by with the consensus? You know, I don't mind. I don't mind looking up a word live. Yeah, general agreement. I thought that's what you meant. Yes. Yeah, I disagreed. Well, I did when I was an undergrad, trying to be cool and only love the postmodern stuff. I do have some thoughts, but I have some thoughts on. I actually do have a thought. I have to listen to her music though a little bit more before I give my authoritative analysis on it. She's very famous. She's really, really famous. I'm not saying she's not talented. Her music is well done from a production level. And that's all I'm saying. And she's very popular. And I think there are things in her music that lack. But that's from listening to maybe 3 of her songs. I'd have to listen to her other stuff. So you guys guess who I'm talking about. But she's very, very famous now. Amy says, if the splashes of paint evoke profound feelings for someone, though, is it not good in that respect? It's good in the subjective sense that is your experience. But objectively speaking, as far as art in and of itself, I had a live stream last week where I made a case why art is objective. It has objective standards, objective measures to making that art. And why what is subjective about art is actually your interpretation of art, my interpretation. That remains subjective. So whatever you think about it, that is that's your own internalizing, but it doesn't validate the quality of the art. So yeah, and if you value that only, then there would be a case for, let's say you would want to buy something like that, and you're totally well within your right and liberty to do so. But to say it's good art, no, I don't think so. It can look cool, but things that are cool, like look cool or sound cool, that are not well done, that's where we get a little bit. We have to establish that there are objective measures for saying what good art is. So, for instance, in my last live stream, I said that I'm at liberty to enjoy bad art. We can enjoy bad art. We can enjoy stuff that's so badly done that makes us happy. That makes us smile. And I was like, yeah, that's so cool. And we could still say, oh, well, it's not that well done. It's not high art. And when I actually, all these statements that I'm saying, these cases, these arguments that I'm making, it's only from it's about art in general. It's not. I'm not saying you have to compose high art. I'm never going to compose a Beethoven symphony. Maybe Mr. Holland's Opus. But I don't compose acoustic music that much anymore. I will do a lot of stuff with violin, but yeah, unless yeah. I would like to be a stand-in musician for someone like Dream Theater, but I wouldn't compose for Dream Theater because those guys are masters with composition. Anyway, you might hear me talk about Dream Theater a lot. But thank you, Amy. Yes, actually, if you disagree, totally, your thoughts are welcome here. I'm not out to persuade. I'm just sharing my thoughts. So yeah, any questions you have, I'm so happy to answer, even if we might be in disagreement. Thank you. Thank you for participating in the chat. It is Casey Scott in the house. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And a lot of exchange. Owen Lister says, 1984 is pretty depressing, but very well written, especially in the world building. It gives a warning about sacrificing your freedom for peace and security. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 1984. And I said this before, I think, on another live stream. 1984 was my first science fiction book that I had read. It was like, science fiction is great. And so 1984 set a standard for me. And I've read a lot of classics that I just do not care for. So 1984 was the first book. Demolished Man was the second book. I think Brave New World was the third. And Brave New World's okay. It's got good stuff. I'd probably have to read it before I would give an opinion on it again. But yeah, things like Stranger in a Strange Land. I like the Foundation trilogy. Foundation trilogy is really chewy. It's really chewy. I like the fourth installment, Foundation's Edge. I gotta read that fifth one. But yeah, I've read the classics. Not all the classics. I need to go back to the classics. But I remember not being as impressed with the others as I was with 1984. Oh, good. Yes. Especially like Iago with his forceful baritone. He's going to get Otello or Othello. He's going to, Iago. His aria and all that stuff is great. I'm going to probably watch a Verdi opera this week. It might be Otello. And is Traviata, La Traviata, I think. I got to double check which person wrote that because it's escaping me. Art is supposed to be a form of communication, as we've said before. It shouldn't be hard to understand. If it is, then it fails as a form of communication, and it fails as art, in my humble opinion. I think so. And the thing is, the level of communication, it doesn't have to be so simple. Also, it doesn't have to be so complicated. These are general terms, or general ideas that we're expressing and discussing. I do think it must be conveyed well. That said, I've used this example. I do not like being spoon-fed. I'm better about it as I'm getting older. But one thing that really just got on my nerves was, insulting the intelligence, and this is this, and this is this. I'm like, I know. And if I don't know, that's okay. You don't need to tell me. But things do need to be well done, well executed. But I also, speaking from more of the, I don't want to say arbitrary, but I also don't want to say absurd, but, as a musician with music, I think music should communicate on some level as a story, as a painting. With visual art, with sculpture and a painting, like it has to grab me. That's the first thing. Now, I have a rule I have established. It's got to be the first 2 seconds of music. I used to think, oh, no, I'll get the audience engaged in the first minute. But, you know, reading science fiction, especially shorter fiction, like short stories and novellas, the author has to grab me by the first paragraph in a short work. So when I write science fiction, I've got to get the audience engaged by the second page, by the first page. For a novel, for a novella, it's got to be by the second paragraph. And for the short story, it's got to be the second sentence. Because the painting can instantaneously grab you. It's like, whoa, that's something. Or it could be simple. It could be a subtle kind of, oh, what is this? And I know that's a visceral reaction, you know, that's like, oh, isn't that subjective, Michelle? I'm like, no, I think art done well really does grab people. That's my personal belief. You don't have to know the science or the method behind it, but you know, the way you say communication, Troy, I think is how the way I would say it grabs you. It conveys, it illustrates, it illuminates. It could be a lot of stuff. If any of you want some fun exposure to classical music, watch an Andre Rieu concert. I think he's cool. I like the opera singers that go with him and stuff like that. He's just kind of like, it's not my style. I mean, I don't mind the music that he plays. The kind of showman, and I'm not against showmanship, by the way. I'm fine. Like Lindsey Stirling, Andre Rieu. He definitely, he's like the Kenny G for violin play. No, I shouldn't say that. I have not seen this person in years. I mean, it's been years since I've seen what he's done. So I can't make that opinion really. Oh, and for me, yeah, there I am. Stefan Torto, if you're interested. Self-taught. That's why I used him as an example. Oh, wait. That's not for me. Hello, Vax. Welcome back. I know. It's like I decided to stick with coffee break because you can always return to it. Like, listen to me for 10 minutes, do something. The next day, listen to another 10 minutes. I do that with longer videos for other people. Under 90 minutes, yeah. Oh, well, we haven't reached the 90-minute mark, but we're getting there. We're getting there. But I don't want to change the title because I love the thumbnail. I love the coffee. I love coffee. I drink my coffee black, and that's the only way to drink coffee. If coffee requires cream to make it taste good, it's obligated coffee. Now, I don't mind putting cream in my coffee. I usually do when I'm eating out or like when I'm eating at a breakfast or something like that. But yeah, bold. Yep. And dark roast. I don't care for medium roast. It's got to be dark. What is your favorite piece? This is Nanette saying, what is your favorite piece to play? Well, actually, I have 4 pieces that I absolutely love. I have not mastered 3 of them. Yeah, that's my goal this year, as we are in quarantine, is to get some good violin literature done. Well, one thing that I brush up, and I'll put this in the chat. I always forget how to spell this one. Music. I don't think that's how you spell it. I want to make sure I'm spelling these correct. I think that's how you spell it. I'm going to double check. Chacon. Oh my goodness. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm just very particular about, yeah. Chacon, a slow, stately dance with 2 N's. I always spell it with 2 C's at first. Bach Chacon in D minor. Well, his sonata. in D minor in particular. But I've been working on the last movement, which is a it requires some stamina and dexterity, but it's beautiful. The others, actually, one I was looking at, and I need to get back into it, is, oh man, um, Von, oh, if I can spell his name. Oh my goodness. Ralph, this is embarrassing, guys. I'm having a hard time spelling these names. Von, okay. I'm just gonna write Williams. No. Sorry, guys. You asked Lynette, or Lynette, that's my aunt, Nanette. Lark Ascending. That's the name of the, how in the world? Oh, Von with Vaug. Huh. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna Von Williams. Okay, come on, Michelle. Do this in real time. Lark Ascending is gorgeous. It is one of the most beautiful. I think that's how you spell ascending. One of the most beautiful violin pieces I did have. I bought for Christmas. And then another is Romanian Dances by Bartok, and that I have pretty much mastered, and it's fun to play. It's really, really fun to play. I would like to try to perform live a lot more this year, and I'll try to squeeze in some more difficult literature when I have it memorized. I don't have the Chaconne memorized yet. And if the chat gets light, I'll try to remember to write the rest of those, because there are 2 more that I love. Can you make a great picture by painting dots, but random dots in weird patterns? Oh, you can. It's not a question. You can make a great picture by painting dots, but random dots in a weird pattern has no effort whatsoever. I think yeah. I mean, we're gonna talk about randomness. I've got some ideas to talk about stochastic, aleatoric music, randomness. How some to a degree we should have randomness. I think I promote or produce some randomness, from SuperCollider, but with fixed parameters as well. I have a very established system what I want the output to be. But I'm talking more on the level of proficiency. I'm not against randomness per se, but we'll talk about it. Oh, I'll talk about it. I've got a case study in mind for aleatoric music and music that is produced and composed by chance, and we'll talk about that. That will be very, very good. Disney Star Wars is a prime example of good music but poor storyline. I didn't know Rose Tico had a theme. I was looking at some analysis of John Williams' score, and the YouTube gentleman was talking about Rose Tico's theme. I'm like, she had a theme? I don't remember it. And the music is actually, of course, it's Williams. It's well done. Oh yeah, I was yeah, that's right. I was asking for you to come up with a movie with a good track, but not so good storytelling. Okay, good. So the scores. So, but in your case, did they better the experience? Or are they just good to hear, by themselves, separately? That's interesting. And film score is very different from what I do, because film score is it is function. It is to serve the film. It's to serve the story. I mean, you can listen to John Williams, Star Wars. Oh goodness, I was listening to Leia's theme, the orchestral version. So good. It's good stuff, and you can listen to it without needing to watch the movie. And I made this case before. I think it was on Troy's channel, where as good as the original series is, I don't think Star Wars would have been what it is today if they stuck with 80s beat music with synthesizers. I don't think they would have, because it's that futuristic setting and like, oh, let's do synthesizers. Things like Forbidden Planet with the theremin. That's totally fine, using that kind of otherworldly soundscape. But if they went that route, if they were producing, if they got like a random, even progressive, unless it was really good progressive rock, I don't know. Williams, and I'm going to talk about this more next Monday, because we're going to talk about space opera and just drama and just what Williams did with that score. Williams is our living, existing example today in this world. He is Beethoven. He is Beethoven of our time. He's Stravinsky. He's Holst. He's Rachmaninoff. He's all those great composers, but he still lives. He's still with us today. I don't think Star Wars would have been what it is today without that score, because what his score does is actually add a level of drama that music can do. Music can procure that level of drama needed. Now, it's a good story without it, but man, that was the score. It was made to be. It was made to be. I don't know that one. Oh wait, that's not for me. I may get yelled at by others in the chat, but a movie that has a great score but fell short for me was Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I wish I knew that movie. Yeah, that's true. That is true. There you go. Foray, Pavan, Opus 50. Oh, DRY, those are my initials. Either or is fine. I was DR Yaisley's Creations. Yaisley. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the pronunciation tag there. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'll do DRY. Everyone else says it like that. I want to be part of the club. Oh, wait, whoa. Hey, it's Big Al. I see you. Wait a sec. All right. Drat those composers and their unspellable European names. That's right. Well, I mean, I can spell it, but typing it live is something. Sound Engraver, in reference to Amy's last question, wow, that address to the degree, that address, excuse me, that addresses the degree to which the art is in the eye of the beholder or the creator, doesn't it? Yeah. So this is why I want to be so clear on what I said in the previous week, what I'm saying this week, and this is probably where I'm gonna, close out my thoughts on art, but we can always revisit it, when I'm talking about music or when I'm having this exchange with you, with you all, who are art or who do absorb art on a regular basis. Our experience is what is subjective. It does not determine the quality of art. I would say that the artistic quality would actually better our experience. But just because we have a good experience of something, just because it's visceral and emotional, doesn't mean it's good quality. I'm not saying it wouldn't be good quality. I'm not saying like, no, if you enjoyed this, it must be terrible art. No, I'm not saying that. It's the value you have for your own personal emotional attachment to something. That is valuable, and I think we should have that. But it doesn't constitute good art. It only constitutes a positive emotion or a good feeling. I listen to cheesy music from time to time. It feels good, but I'm not going to call it good art. I'm not going to call it well done. But usually the art that is well done really feels good. So yeah, it's not a knock on anyone who may think that or might be confused with where I stand. But the experience, receiving the piece of art and your interpretation of the art, that is what remains subjective. So yeah, very good. Very, very, very good. All right. We might close it up in 90 minutes. We might have a shorter live stream. I don't know. Depends on if you guys ask me great questions. I think this is for me. Superman soundtrack would always be my favorites next to Conan the Barbarian. Cool. The original Superman, 1978. I gotta look at these movies. You know, I think Al's on that. He's gonna tell me all the movies to watch except horror. I don't watch horror. Oh, this look. Yeah, I've heard the name. Thank you for the recommendation. I will check this person out. Welcome, Big Al. Always good to have you. Legend says Spielberg saw Star Wars rough cuts. With music and gave condolences. The music made that film iconic. Yeah. I bet when they got together, I bet it was pretty cool. I think they knew they had something. The story stands apart from the music for sure. It's a good story. It's a well-written story. Maybe the dialogue is kind of campy, but that was Lucas. I think it improved Episode 5. I think Empire Strikes Back was really that meat, that core of the drama. It's the second act. It's a very important act. So the story is good on its own, but having that with the music, just as it's, almost foundation. I was about to say cushion, but yeah, it's good stuff. Oh my goodness. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. All right, so let me type in some other pieces, some violin pieces for Nanette or anyone else interested. I got to get back into playing, practicing Lark Ascending. Bartok, 6 Romanian dances. It's originally for piano. So look for the violin and piano transcription. It's been one of my favorite pieces since high school. So there you go. And I can perform that. I would just need a few days to brush it up, and I can perform that. So yeah, Chaconne. Oh, and this is a more contemporary one. This was written in 1963, but it remains to be one of my favorite violin pieces by an American composer, John Corigliano. Yeah, American names are hard to spell too. I don't know where the origin, the origin of this name, but he is American, and I think his father was a violinist. He's still alive. I think he's in his 80s. Corigliano Sonata, and I like how he titles this. It's Sonata for violin and piano, because the piano is just as involved. Beethoven's violin sonata and cello sonata, man, the piano is just as involved as the prime instrument. So I'm glad he did this. This was written in 1963. 4 movements. I love it. I need to practice it again, because I've been practicing the first movement, a little bit of definitely the third movement is really good. Hello, Professor Gee. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, welcome. Always welcome. Just the gang hanging out. It's like, it's always hot. It's always too hot here. So John Corigliano, that's more contemporary, but this was composed. It's got contemporary nuance. It's got a little bit more experimental nuance in terms of tonality and consonance and dissonance, but it is fun. I wonder if I can find, let me find it on YouTube, and I will send you the link. There's this she was in college at the time. I actually don't really know her as a violinist, but she's definitely a good violinist. John Corigliano, if I can spell John Corigliano, violin sonata, but it's really violin and piano sonata. And let me just go ahead and I'll stop that. And this should be it. It's great. It's just a good piece of composition. And I've been practicing it off and on. I just gotta master it. I don't know a pianist who could do the piano part, but I'm doing the violin part, whatever, before I die. So I think that works, right? I can do a link. I could do a YouTube link. I won't get banned. I won't get shut off. So I think there were a couple. Let's see. You guys are so involved with your own exchange and trying to read without putting someone's thoughts out of context. All right. Well, Professor Geek deserves a mention. Welcome. Sound Engraver said, or Big Al says, Conan the Barbarian is a favorite soundtrack. Many of the 80s sword and sandal type fantasy films had fun soundtracks. I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine that for sure. Yeah, like as you guys do rewatches, I'd have to find a way to do, listening in and talking about some analysis, some concepts, some ideas. The only thing is I would have to probably do it on a different platform. I would stream it through YouTube. But the output from StreamYard is no go. Unless we did it like a listening, like you were listening while I was listening, like people do with the rewatches. Or I could output it through OBS. But I don't know if I don't think I could do that with copyright music. I think I could only do that with classical music or anything. What's the public domain year? Is it 1920? Anything before 1920, I think I could do. But I think I'd have to be careful with like concept albums and soundtracks. So, but yeah, thank you for that input. All right. Well, I've caught up with chat, guys. So any questions, comments? I hope I didn't scare people away. I've noticed the chat got light and it was just the professor's crowd. Oh yay, professor has a question for me. Let's see. The On Trio, is it pronounced On? I enjoy their music, but would like a professional's assessment of them. Why, thank you. Actually, let me talk about not this trio. I haven't heard them, but I always like going back to these videos after they've been streamed to look at your guys' recommendations so I can seek it out. Troy and Annette have always good recommendations. I gotta refer to some other groups. Yeah, I could do an analysis. Yeah, here's the thing. So as I take a swig, because it's warm in here as usual. I'm thinking of gearing my live streams more on music, if you guys don't mind. If you're interested in knowing about music and music history, maybe some elements of music theory, how things work, not so much on a theoretical, not from that standpoint, because I don't want to bore you. But analysis of something, because the more I was listening to the rewatch, when I'm doing like with Troy, with Xanadu, that was so fun. I don't think I listen to people, but I don't contemplate as much because we're doing it real time and we're watching the movie and stuff like that. But then I go back to hear what people have to say, and the prof had good takes on his commentary regarding Greek mythology and all of that. And I was like, I should home in more on music analysis and musical ideas and what is music. And actually, this is going to include, I think, into next month. And this would be a separate day or maybe a time Monday before I teach. I really would like to perform live. I would really like to perform online. I have something in mind for Star Wars Day, guys. Hopefully it's successful. But it'd be like a 10-minute, 15-minute little live concert before I taught next Monday. And then talking about more the drama behind Star Wars with its music, and might be elements of the 3-act structure, but the more I was listening to opera, it might be elements of 3-act, but I don't know. I'm going to listen to a few more operas before I decide how to talk about space opera, and really more space opera as more the genre and how music can work, and how it can promote the genre, the drama, and what it can do, and how composers have been successful. And I got to get back to my friend. I haven't heard from him. It'll be space opera, whether it's me doing it solo or with us too. Yeah. And so people, like, that's the thing about talking about music, is when I start really getting into it, I get so pumped. I get so excited because I'm teaching, and I like teaching, but what I teach is basic violin tone and technique. I don't talk about music. I have this piano student, total beginner. I teach beginning piano if needed. And I found that with her lessons, I talk more about the music with piano, because when you play the piano, when you start the piano, you press a key and it sounds like a piano or a digital piano. With violin, there are so many variables that go into the violin tone. So much goes into violin tone. I mean, when I finally get over the hump of getting that student to get a solid sound, it's like, great, now let's do 8th notes and 16th notes. But I remember teaching, I remember there's this Russian girl that I taught. I think she was 11 or 12 at the time. And she was really advanced, and she was my only advanced student. And she wasn't even my student. Like, people just hired me to assess her violin playing for an audition. And she played really well. And I didn't even have to talk about technique. I was talking about music. I was like, and this is, it can be expressed this way because of this time, and what was thought this time, or maybe something history, maybe something technique. But I was like, oh my goodness, if I could just teach only advanced students. Now I love my students. I've been with a lot of those kids for a couple of years now. But I think something, just switches when I talk about music. So what I was thinking is more geared toward music, and maybe how you guys can find parallels with your art, whether, as I said before, writing, drawing, illustrating, coloring, for comic books and different things like that. Maybe there are parallels. I think there are parallels. So, assessments, something that I think is objectively good music, and my take on it. So I'm just kind of throwing those ideas out there. But the more I was listening to the professor, I mean, he has such a knack, such a skill. He's a scholar with mythology, or in mythology. And I was like, like, I can talk about art and what I think about art, but my specialty is in music. It's in music. So your thoughts, actually, if you guys have any ideas, I mean, maybe not content, throw those ideas there too. But like, if you're thinking, I don't want to hear just about music, it might not just be music, but I get like this intellectual high, when I talk about music. But I have some ideas that even people who might not know music or have the higher education, I've got some things to talk about that I think could also relate and correlate. So yeah, let's whoa, chat has happened. Owen Lister says, I recommend The Ecstasy of Gold. It's on one of is it Morricone? Is that how you pronounce the name? Morricone. Most powerful pieces. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, these recommendations might give me some ideas. I'll look into these. And if I have some opinions, I'd love to talk about it. Like, see what you guys think. Professor Geek says, I am super psyched for your Star Wars content. I'll be listening with pen and paper ready to take notes. Man, you're putting the pressure on. Oh man. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I was looking at the 3-act structure, just from the literary and screenplay, which that's your field, by the way. That's not anything. That's not my specialty. And so I was actually, when I was first doing it, I was comparing it with like the 3-act opera. But the more I was looking at opera, the more opera I was referring back to that I had learned in school. I was like, oh my goodness, these are 2 acts, these are 4 acts, these are 5 acts. And then I thought, well, no, the 3-act structure has like a sequence of events and an overall form with tension and release and climax and all of that. So that of course can be established in something comprised in 4 acts or 5 acts, like the grand opera. So I've been listening to Monteverdi's L'Orfeo, Orpheus and well, how do you pronounce her English name? I only know the Italian. Eurydice. I don't know how to pronounce her name as we would say it in English. But L'Orfeo by Monteverdi, that was composed in 1607, and that was really the predecessor of opera. That was the first musical drama, and it's beautiful music. The drama is actually a little simple. It's not so exciting a story, but that was the first real big idea of putting music to text in a dramatic form. So he was the first. He was one of the first in Europe to do that. Monteverdi L'Orfeo, if you guys were interested. It's beautiful music. He established. Hey, Troy, you're talking about communication. He established this idea that he wanted to communicate to the listener through music and not so much words, even though it was music put to words, but he wanted to enhance the words and the meanings of words through something called text painting. So like if the lover was singing about the heavens and the sun, he would sing high, just kind of going as my voice cracks. So he would raise his hand and sing high, talking about the sun and the heavens, cielo, all that, sol, And then if he talked about death, tu sei morta, just he would have a dissonant note hanging underneath, like under the ground as people bury their dead, and then resolve to something that is tonal. So really effective communication. So that was composed in 1607. And then I listened to Mozart's Magic Flute, which actually does adhere to the 3-act structure, the hero's journey, and it has a happy ending. A lot of these operas don't have happy endings. So I was like, I gotta find something with a happy ending. I posted on Twitter pretty much one of the most famous arias out there, and that's called Queen of the Night. And it's weird because it's like, we got Luke, who not fantasizes, but he dreams up before he knows who Darth Vader is truly. He dreams up. He thinks about his father. He honors his father. He reveres his father. He wonders about his father. He has this fascination about who his father is, and then he finds that his father is a villain. Well, it's actually the opposite with the Magic Flute. She's not a heroine. She's actually more of the. Well, no, she is a heroine in some way, in a softer way. To her lover, she's the lover to Tamino, Pamina, and she believes her mother is good, that she's been wronged, she's been imprisoned, but it actually turns out that the Paragon is protecting her from her mother, who's a demented villain. So good stuff. Yeah, that's where Star Wars came from. Yeah. Sound great. Chris P says, what do you think of John Williams' scores outside Star Wars? Okay. I don't want to confess this live. Al, if you have any ideas for a rewatch, Indiana Jones. I haven't seen Indiana Jones, guys. Guys, I know I have to watch more movies. But what I will say about Indiana Jones as far as the score is, I know it. That's good music right there. Um, I know it sometime when I'm not on live and under pressure. Man, I'm trying to think of Indiana Jones, and I'm thinking of the main Star Wars theme. Harry Potter. He wrote for the first 3 films, right? I think he established the world very well. It's not my thing in terms of style, but it's not. Well, no. What's the owl's name? Hedwig, or that theme is pretty cool. So yeah, he establishes great iconic themes, and I want to talk about this. Might be a separate thing actually from the space opera. It might actually be involved, but John Williams, why he's so successful is not only has he got this just the talent of the greats before him, but he works with leitmotif, and that's a concept that Wagner really established in the 1800s, where a leitmotif is a musical idea for a character or a thing or a place, and it's constantly recirculated in different forms, so the audience is always aware of this idea. Berlioz, and I might talk about it later, but Berlioz with his Symphonie Fantastique earlier in the early 1800s, he used what was called idée fixe, which is the fixed idea. So he was, legend has it, he was obsessed with this one woman. And so he wrote the symphony around her. I think it was Unrequited Love. I think he knew this woman. And the first movement is pastoral, and she's beautiful, and she's a maiden, and all that stuff. And then it gets dark. He was a little crazy. But the idée fixe is, in the first movement is pastoral, and then it kind of gets into this. I think by the 4th movement, it gets dark. She's like part of a witch's brew or something like that, or like a community of witches. So her theme, her idea, this fixed musical idea is just warped, I think with the clarinet or oboe or something like that. So that's why John Williams is so successful as a film composer, because he understands that that's what drama needs. Drama we have it's not just that we have an idea of who Leia is as a character. We hear that her theme, we hear the Force theme, we hear these ideas, these concrete ideas. They're tangible, they're visceral, we can hear them. Our hearing is a huge sense, and it's a very important part of interpreting and understanding the drama. I think I concluded my thoughts there. But yeah, that's why he's so iconic as a living composer, is he knows how the great composers did it centuries ago. And he went with that. I need to listen to more soundtracks. I don't listen to film scores, not outside their movies. I've tried. Outside Williams. I mean, actually, Johann Johannesson with his Arrival, that was good because the soundscapes were pretty good. But I don't listen to movie scores actively. I think movie scores have their place for the movies, but I know a lot of people who do listen to film scores almost exclusively, or at least as much as they listen to other music. Oh, well, thank you for visiting, DRY. Thank you. Appreciate that. It was good to have you, and thank you for your questions. Oh. I almost missed this one. Yeah, I know. I haven't lived. I don't think I'm alive. I know. Yeah. I'll watch it someday. Wait. Oh, I'm skipping. Oh. Oh my goodness. You guys. Yeah. This is a joke, right? I don't have a favorite horror film score because I don't watch horror films. And I don't listen to scores outside their films, really. I remember listening to Maze Runner, the scores. It was exciting for like 5 minutes, and then every track sounded the same. But I have no doubt that horror films have amazing soundscapes and amazing soundtracks. I probably could compose for horror if I watched it, because I love that ambient stuff. I love that dark ambient stuff. Okay, I'll have a listen. Definitely listen. I listened to your the recommendation, Jeff Wayne's concept album. I thought it was cool. I do have my thoughts on that. Compositionally wise, I could assess it, but I might be a little bit more objective. But who was it? Paladin Demo recommended also. He also recommended that, but he also recommended Rick Wakeman, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and I did like that one. I like that one a lot. The other one I got, and I like synthesizers. But I'd have to. The thing is, I have to read the War of the Worlds first. That was one of Wells' I didn't read, and I got to read it. I know I was like, you read science fiction, and there's sometimes there are classics that I miss. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for crispy Hedwig. Yeah. So something like that. That's pretty cool. I like that. We have done the first two. Oh, okay, that'd be fun. So I can refer back to that while listening. Yeah, that would be fun. Still need to do The Last Crusade. Isn't there a bad one? An objectively bad film? I heard there was one. I just didn't know. I mean, I probably would watch it without. I need to watch it before I give an opinion on it. I think we'll probably wrap it up around 11. Sound Engraver. Do you know the Indiana Jones scores? The Raiders March isn't even at the start of the music, or isn't even the start of the music. Map Room at Dawn, Grail theme, Short Round theme, Marion's theme. Yeah, I should check it out. I only know the main one. Yeah, I mean, like things like E.T. I mean, he's good with all those. But when you look at the score or listen to the score, Star Wars, that's some Wagnerian Stravinsky stuff. It's massive. Star Wars, the score for Star Wars is unparalleled. I've got this theory, guys. You're not gonna like it. Gotta take a swig. You're not gonna like this at all. I know. Give it. I give it 20 years. People might think it'd be fewer than that, but I think it'd be 20 years. I don't think Disney would do this before the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. I don't think so. I don't think they would. I would give it 20 years before they reboot the whole original series. If that happens, actually, I'm not going to even say if. It's going to happen. I know. They're not beyond doing that. I've listened to the Prost channel too long. And other channels too long to know it's not beneath them. Though we know they're not capable of making good stories. We know that. But I tell you what, like, no matter how impressive the spectacle, no matter how good the sound designs, no matter how good the casting and the acting, even if they did frame by frame as they've done with the Disney animated reboots, you know what they won't have? They won't have John Williams. And we can archive those films because John Williams, he's not going to be around doing those scores. So when they win, and you might say, "Don't jinx it, Michelle." They're going to do it anyway, whether I say it or not. They won't have Williams taking the mantle of the score. When you don't have that cinematic, operatic, dramatic force, you won't have a good Star Wars film. Well, no, you'll have the story. Well, it'd be a Disney-fied story. But there's something so, like, transcending, about that score. I don't want to like put it on a pedestal like in a spiritual way, but the stuff he did for Star Wars is just freaking Wagnerian. Like, you could do a doctoral study on John Williams. You might be scoffed at because, oh, John Williams, he's a film composer. He shouldn't be taken seriously. I can't do what he did. There's no way. Even if I studied the orchestra for 20 years, I don't think I could do what Williams did in his pretty much the whole course of his life. Well, for a lot of decades. Yes. Yes. Binary Sunset. Is it Suns or Sunset? I thought it was Binary Sunset. Is my favorite score of all the Star Wars scores, next to Asteroid Chase and Hoth. I know what Asteroid Chase sounds like. Yeah. You also can't go wrong with the prequels, Duel of the Fates. So I have in mind to do a little pre-concert show, probably 10 minutes. I don't think it's going to exceed 10 minutes of me doing violin on the original themes. I wanted to do, what's it called? Anakin and Padme's theme, but the other music I was doing was just the original, so I think I'm just going to do a selection of works for you. Probably 10 minutes sometime. Probably Star Wars Day. So I've been practicing that. I've been practicing Leia's theme and the Han and Leia suite, and it sounds so simple in the mind, but the way he uses chromatics and shifting pitches, it throws me off every time. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty proficient when it comes to playing by ear. And then I was playing Leia's theme, and I was like, where does it go? And then I hear it, and then I'm trying to transfer down to the original key. He modulates between, he shifts harmonies and shifts keys all the time. But he does it so seamlessly. So when I was listening to her theme, I was like, how does it end? How does it end? So yeah, good stuff. Oh, I should probably wrap it up for you, Troy and Annette, because you guys got to finish Clone Wars. All right. Speaking of movie scores, the Alien soundtrack is amazing. I should check that out. You may not care for the film, but the music is awesome. I feel like I have listened to that. Yeah. And that, like, with the visuals would be not the alien, not the scary stuff, but like the holographic stuff. Yeah, that's good stuff. Owen says, a recent movie score I think was pretty awesome was Aquaman. The film itself may not be perfect, but it's still enjoyable, and I love the music in it. Oh yeah, I'll check it out. I think forgive me if I've repeated myself, but we were talking about John Williams' Star Wars score, and he does it so well. I'm sure I've mentioned this. Sorry for repeating myself, guys. I know I said this to someone, so I may have said this live. But what didn't work was Jupiter's Ascending. Jupiter Ascending, that sci-fi pop popular fiction or whatever that is, Pulp Fiction. I don't know what you would call it. That orchestral score did not work for that movie. That movie needed, I'm not saying that movie was great, but that movie needed more electronic stuff. But Star Wars, yeah. I just love it. I just love that it worked with the orchestra. Do. All right. Probably wrap it up here in about 7 minutes or so. My favorite horror score was John Carpenter. Oh, The Thing. Gosh, The Thing. I've seen pictures. I was like, nope. I don't like the gross science fiction. No, I'm like, oh, why did I see? Like, I saw that as like a meme on Twitter. Like, whoa, man, whoa, that. I'll check out the score though. As far as like film scores, I'm not really good as far as analysis is concerned because film score really does have a different function. That said, though, guys, if you guys are doing a rewatch of Lord of the Rings, you need an analysis of Howard Shore stuff. I'm there. That, I mean, Howard Shore, like what he did with Lord of the Rings was just right. Just right. I don't think he did anything lacking. I don't think there was anything that there was nothing deficient about that score either. Oh, was it Crystal Skulls? Yeah. Oh, okay. All 3 films are perfect. I'll watch all 3. Yeah. Oh, I had heard about that. Yeah, Troy. Okay. Indy 4, something about a crystal skull. Skip that one. Let's just say there were only 3. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Oh, I think, okay. I think I get what Daniel was going for that. Yeah. Okay. Oh, whoa. Now, question for you, Al. Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Ugh. Not good. Well, did you enjoy it? Oh, how's your foot, by the way? I've been thinking about you and praying for you. I hope you're doing better. Professor Geek says, I agree. They've already started rewriting scenes for the OT with animated shorts. They have the audacity to do that while Williams is still around. Dude, that's pretty short-sighted. That's just... No, just like if you have to. Like what they did with Marvel. Like I listened to this channel called The Fourth Age, and his commentary, you know, what he talks about with Marvel and the progression, where it was, where it's been, where it's going, and how just after the passing of Stan Lee, it's like, you know, as bad as this stuff is happening, as you know, it's happening after his passing. But if they even try to make an official announcement of any kind, while Williams is still around, I mean, Williams is in his 80s, sure, but he could still be alive and kicking for another 15, 20 years, depending on his health. That would be a little bit underhanded, if I may so boldly say. But, you know, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be Star Wars. It's going to be pseudo Star Wars. Star Wars in name only. That's what they should call it. You can remove the Raiders March, and the Indiana Jones scores are still head and shoulders above everything else thematically speaking. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can work with that assessment. Nice. Owen says, the only way to make Star Wars great again is to start from scratch and do it well. But, you know, I would say we've got technology. We've got restoration technology. We've got remastering technology. We've got the technology to preserve the original. Like, I remember the appendices, and it was Viggo Mortensen who played Aragorn, who I remember toward the end of the commentary, he was saying, you know, something might be remade 50 years from now. This was, you know, kind of right after the production of Lord of the Rings. And he said, it might be great. It might be visually better, but, you know, it may not. I don't know what he said. He said, but what we have here, what we have now is the heart of the movie making and the storytelling. And yeah, sure, Lord of the Rings will probably be remade. Now, the idea at the time when he said that, it didn't bother me like that 20, 30 years from now, it would be that way, a remake. But the problem with remakes is it's just lazy, or it's just not wanting to take risks anymore. It's not wanting to, yeah, I heard, gosh, I can't remember who said it, but I guess 101 Dalmatians was an original Disney idea and it failed in the box office or something. So maybe Disney was at a point there must have been a Disney era or a decade where Disney was trying to really be original, not even just doing things of fairy tales and all that, but actually was trying to do original stories. And like, ooh, oh no, I was about to say Black Cauldron, but that was probably loosely based from the fantasy novel. 101 Dalmatians. I think Rescuers. I think that was an original Disney idea. I like those movies, even if they failed at the box office. I mean, they're good. They're classic. There's nothing wrong with being original. There's this fear of being original. There's this fear of, taking risks and I don't know though. I think people want original content now. Like there's not there, no. I don't know if anyone is truly insatiable for reboots. I don't think so. I mean, I think they'll go, being, passive or, going through the motions of it. But I don't think people could just see what they've seen 20 years before for all their lives. I think they would want original stuff. And yeah, that's what I've got to say about that. All right. So a few more comments. Have you ever seen or heard of the movie Score? It's about movie scores and the writers of scores. John Williams is included, of course. Cool. It's like a documentary or something, or it's an actual movie. Yeah, I'll check that out. Very cool. Thank you. Oh yeah, yeah, that. I'm not saying it's a great film. It's got Sean Bean in it though, and he's my celebrity crush. But even he didn't make the movie. It's like not even him, man. Yeah, the werewolf angel, Channing Tatum. Yeah, his character made no sense. The whole thing didn't make sense. And I don't mind absurdity. But it's got to be. I don't know. I don't mind absurdity, but that was, for what I saw, I've only seen it once. I was dumb. Yeah, the trombone introducing the title, it didn't work. They tried to use orchestra. They needed electronic music for that kind of movie to work. I propose electronic music for science fiction, but what do I know? I just compose electronic music and write science fiction. Yeah, maybe I should go on a John Williams binge. That would be nice. Yeah, cool. Thank you, Prof. I mean, no pressure. You guys can do your own thing. I'm just a stand-in. But if you need some specialty, yeah, talk about elves singing and talk about themes, talk about what they did with the music and the sound design for the One Ring. Whew. Oh, yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. You can't go wrong with Howard Shore's Lord of the Rings. And the fact that they could use the actual Quenya or Sindarin language for the score. I could just hear the opening now. Nothing dramatic. It's just like this, easing into this old tale. And it's ominous. It's mysterious. And then you hear Cate Blanchett. And she speaks Elvish first. With the Elvish singing. It's good stuff. All right. I should wrap it up soon. Yeah, wonderful stream. Forbidden Planet rewatch will happen. Yeah, for sure. I'll listen in. I'll rent it or get it and listen to you guys talk about it. That's good stuff. I've only seen it once, but what I did see was, man, that world building, that space, those spaces. Oh my goodness. Great. Yes, I knew someone of the Prof's ranks knew about Fourth Age. I don't know how I found him. Probably through the feed with listening to Prof. I don't know what this means. Oh, he is 80. Is he that old? I thought he was like 80. Okay. Oh man. Yeah. You know, we're gonna lose an iconic figure. His death is gonna be a blow. His passing is gonna be he's gonna be remembered. And unless some film composer with the talent and the sensibilities takes his place, we will not get the musical drama as we had gotten with Williams. There are great composers out there. We've got Howard Shore, we've got Hans Zimmer, but even Hans Zimmer, as great as he is, he's more of that, like when I have listened to his scores, it's more of that ambient, that behind the scenes to give you that mood, which is fine. That's probably how I would compose film, but not drama like we had it in the 1800s, not drama like we had it in the early 1900s, 20th century. Unless people had a school of thought following John Williams, we're never going to have those iconic film scores. Unfortunately, with film, if people don't train specifically on how to compose for films, I have no training as far as composing for films. If someone were to ask me, hey, can you compose for this movie? Yeah, sure, I could charge a rate, but I don't have the experience. I really don't. Yeah, people need very, very specific training and education for something like this. But it seems like a lot of quality is being watered down from what I hear. So writing, CGI, different things like that. When we were seeing that Don Bluth animation of Xanadu, it was like, oh. And I don't think that's nostalgia. I think that's good animation. Yes, there are moments of fun, and Indy 4 suffers in the days following watching as you realize how dumb many aspects are. That's too bad. But yeah, I like you because you don't like you enjoy stuff, but you don't get really mad when other people say other stuff about stuff you enjoy. Yeah. All right. It's 11:08. Yeah. A few more comments. I keep saying that. You can't remake Lord of the Rings in the way that Peter Jackson did it. It's untouchable. I think so. There was so much heart in that production. So much heart. The level of detail, like all departments put in. Plus, people overhead and are seeing and being the caretakers of it, as it were. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think a remake, because of all the set pieces and the miniatures and all the stuff that really does enhance the detail. Yeah, I don't think it's a classic. One of the problems of trying to be original is that everything has been done. Yeah, like nothing's new under the sun, but at the same time, it's I used to make this argument. Filmmakers and producers, they just need to read more. They need to read more. They need to read more fiction. They need to read more stories, historical fiction, something. They need to read more. They can adapt. Like an adaptation, even a loose adaptation of something, could be considered original. Yeah, I don't think they have to be completely original with things, or go back to the old fairy tales, like the ones you haven't done. Looking at you, Disney. Yeah. Remakes work best with movies that failed before. Oh, I think so. You mean because of technical trouble or some casting or something like that? I can see that. Troy Pacelli, on the other hand, says nobody likes reboots. If something is good enough to think about rebooting, then it's good enough not to need a reboot. Yeah. Yeah, things have closure too. I'm all about, like, okay, honest, okay. Let's talk about a real personal, concrete example. Land Before Time. And I'm not talking about the whole series that followed. I'm talking about the first film. I don't want to see a CGI or whatever it is, CG, computer animated Littlefoot. No way. No. If they did that, that'd be pretty pathetic. What Spielberg did, the orchestra, the score for that. Yeah, you don't. I hope they don't do that. I hope I didn't give anyone any ideas. They probably thought of it before, like, that's such a worthless story. It's a great story, especially when the mother dies, pulls the heartstrings. Like with Dumbo. What was wrong with the first Dumbo? Like Baby Mine, that song, when you hear, I don't know who the singer is, but she has that real deep voice. I don't know the lyrics. I would sing the song to you guys. I would serenade for you. Baby of mine, you know, just, and then she rocks him with her trunk. It's just, that's just gold, man. You've talked about writing. I don't recall if you've ever mentioned if you've had your, oh no, I'm long. I got to get him proofread. Yeah, I got to get one out there today. Yeah, this year. If so, what are the titles so we can go check them out? Yeah, no titles. Well, I have titles. I won't share them yet. Thank you. I'd actually like to self-publish, just for easy access. I do. It's more of a hobby right now. I gotta finish my draft. I gotta actually wrap it up so I can actually write. I try to be pretty diligent writing every day. She's about to encounter. Well, she's met her spaceship, who she doesn't trust. And I can't wait till he takes her into space, and it's gonna be fun. She's gonna be terrified. So it's gonna be great. But thank you, absolutely. One day. I gotta make writing as important as music because I do have stories to tell. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up 11:20. So you guys get your thoughts out. I'm not ready for John or Mel Brooks to pass yet. Yeah, there's always closure. We have to be mindful of that. We have to accept it when it happens. We've got their works. Let's start, guys. Troy, you're good at this with your art, with your cover art, with Doctor Who and stuff like that. Find a way to archive the snot out of the original trilogies. I hate using that expression, but I'm so forward with that. Like find the physical, archive the digital. Really preserve those things. And time capsules, whatever the case may be, because we have to know. Like society has to know what the originals were. I think Star Wars is a long way away from being forgotten. The original Star Wars, I think it's a long way. What will be forgettable is the sequel trilogy. I can't even remember Rey's theme. I didn't even know that Rose Tico had a theme. Now that's not surprising with John Williams because he's the composer to do that. But I was like, she has a theme? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think contemporary is a good word. I think he is more to suit that ambience, like it or not, like whatever you think about the Nolan films on Batman, the intro to the Joker at that very first scene, or the takeover robbery, where it's that little tick with the drone, and then the strings come in, and the strings are kind of sliding on the fret, and it's really eerie. It really sets you up for who the Joker is. So things like that's ambience, though. That's not melody. That's not to add the drama. It's to add the drama, but not in a way that Williams is doing or has done. Yeah. All right. Gosh, a few more questions, right? I think I agree with you, Daniel, on Hans Zimmer. I like some of his stuff, but it's more for ambience. It's more for atmosphere. It's not, I would say he doesn't, I would say in terms of quality, in terms of drama, he's on a different tier. I would say Williams is also on a different tier. Professor Geek says, I'm actually nervous to ask you this. Well, I'm nervous too, because I don't know what you're about to say. I promise I'll understand. Won't hold it against you if you say no. But do you like Danny Elfman's scores? I mean, I've heard of him. I just don't know what movies he's written for. Didn't he write Maze Runner? One of them. Yeah, he's kind of like Zimmer for me. I'm not a specialist on scores though. Like I'd have to really, really analyze. I'm more of the, classic composers and all of that. Why I talk about John Williams so much is because he's just so much like the classic composers. I do remember there's this what was it, Hollywood Reporter or something? There was an interview with 5 of the major players in film score. And the interviewee, oh gosh, bless his soul, he was so ignorant with these guys. But I remember, I think it was Elfman who viscerally responded, like he started cussing. Well, no, I don't. Yeah, I think he cussed. He said the composers were asked, well, when you take a break or when you're doing your own thing or just doing life, like, do you listen to film scores? And I think it was Elfman who said, beep, no. I don't listen to scores either. Like, and I understand why they would not listen to scores. Composing a film score it's very, very different from listening to a piece of music, popular, classical. It's very different. It's even different than listening to something by Mahler or Mozart's arias or Puccini. It's very different. Especially, my last film score that I had heard intently. It got dry. It needed the action scenes to get it going. It was made only for those kids running away from something. After that, I was like, where's the characterization? Where are the themes? Where are all those things? And I think that's where we're from the film score I have heard. I think that's where it's going. But something like iconic, like the end credits of Blade Runner. Oh yeah. Vangelis? Did he write that? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of on Professor. I think he's on the same tier as Zimmerman, a little bit. One thing I've been asked, like public. I haven't performed publicly that much lately. Well, of course, lately now, but one thing I've been asked is like, "Oh, can you do Game of Thrones?" I would, or like if I was teaching an adult student, like I would love to learn Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, like the theme. Okay, here's the thing. Here's my take on Game of Thrones music. I've never watched the show, but I have listened to the theme. You know what makes that music so epic? It's the instrumentation. It's not the melody. The melody is actually really dry. The harmony is okay. I've used that harmony before, but it's the melody is actually quite dull. What makes it exciting, what makes it enticing is the instrumentation. It's that solo reverberant cello. I think it's cello. It might be bass, but I think it's cello. And it's also the percussion behind it. It's the percussion. It's not the melody. So when people say, "Oh, play Game of Thrones," I was asked this in a Presbyterian church from this lady in her 60s. I was like, "Do you watch Game of Thrones?" And I politely declined, like, "Oh, I don't know it." Star Wars, yes. Star Wars, absolutely. I will play a couple Star Wars numbers that are definitely written for the trumpet, that are definitely written for brass. It's very hard to convey that level of emotion and impact on violin. Something like Leia's theme, absolutely. Violin is perfect for that. But something like the actual main, crawl, dun, da, 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 it's like, that's not solo violin stuff. But I will play it for you guys to the best of my ability. Wolf10 Media. I need to recognize your names. I need to keep saying your names. Sorry about that. Talking in terms of movies that didn't make it in time it was released, or make it during the time it was released. Black Cauldron. Yeah. Black Hole. Oh man. I had to listen to like 2 hours of Michael Jackson after watching that film. I had to listen to his most upbeat stuff after that. I was so disturbed by the ending. That was dark stuff. I thought something scary was about to happen, and I scrolled over it, then I was like, oh, maybe I should see it. And I regret that I saw it. That was before Star Wars. That was right before Star Wars. That was that idea. And it had that kind of that Western I'm blanking on the phrase, that kind of iconic Western there's a term I'm blanking on, but it's got that kind of Western, that space Western, space cowboy stuff. But dear me, that stuff was that last scene. I wish I skipped over it. Now I'm getting nightmares just thinking about it. So it's a depiction of hell, where madness takes you. But Black Hole, I do remember Black Hole. Dude, and like when they lift the lobotomized person, the scientist, that when the chrome mask is lifted, and like you're staring at this face, and he's like, oh, it's like I wasn't ready for that. Like, that's Disney's dark. Disney, like, I know they've watered down a lot of the fairy tale stuff, but it's dark. I was like, yeah. I mean, I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I know what it looks like and stuff like that. But I remember that movie. Yeah. Yeah, dude, yes. Gosh, I have so much fun with you guys that it's like I'm wrapping it up, Yeah. If I started singing Baby Mine, I'm not even a mom, I would still cry. I remember actually we were listening. Oh man, see, this is what good music does. This is what good art does. I remember I think it was in Canada or something, and we were listening. My mom, my sister, and my baby sister at the time. She was a toddler at the time. We were listening to, I think, old Disney soundtracks, and Baby Mine came up, or maybe it was a rendition of Baby Mine. No, I think it was the original. And we were listening to it, and all of us started crying, including my baby sister, who was a toddler. She didn't know anything about the story. And like, there were tears on her baby cheeks. That's what music does. That's what music does. Okay, 11:30. 11:30, I'm wrapping it up. I promise, because I have to write. Ugh. Yeah, when the prof did that impromptu, I was like, I want to stay for the whole thing, and I was like, I gotta go. I gotta write before I go to bed. Midnight impromptu. Exactly, Wolftan Media. Troy Pacelli says there is a whole group of fans who have done restorations to preserve the theatrical release. Oh yeah, I had heard that too. Like what it was. Yeah. See, I wasn't around for that, and I feel like I've missed it. I knew there was like a big controversy with re-releases and all that stuff, and how there's so many different iterations. But I would just say, like, for history's sake, if Christ doesn't come anytime sooner than 100 years, I would just preserve any of what you have of the originals, because if they talk about animation shorts or storyboards, anything, if they're even remotely talking about that, while Williams, I thought they, like, if they did it, I thought they wouldn't do it until after the 50th, after 2029. I think I would give it, like, I would hope they would wait at least another 20 years, but who knows? I don't think even the normies. I can't believe I'm using that term. I'm a normie of sorts. I actually am a normie, but I don't think they'd be interested. But I could be wrong. The Dark Knight Rises theme gets me pumped up. I mean, I like it when he's on that. It was Batman Begins, and it's that silhouette of him just kind of standing and looking over Gotham, and it's just like the string tremolos in the low, it kind of, and then I think it's a French horn that kind of comes and surfaces in. It's really well done. But I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying Hans Zimmer is not a good composer. He is. Oh, Daniel Heron has something to say. Hans Zimmer has definitely changed the face of movie music. I enjoy several of his works, but it's just not this. You're right. Oh, is he? Yeah, I'd have to listen to Elfman a little bit more to understand. well, where he is there. Yeah, but Williams is really on his own tier. Yep, yep. Yeah, Black Hole. When Disney goes dark, it goes. I mean, it does. I mean, I could see why there was not much commercial success with that. Because it's also psychologically dark. It's not just physically dark and domain and stuff like that. It's also quite. It's talking about madness and lobotomizing people, and it's. I mean, it's not horror, but it's really creepy. Really, really creepy stuff. Oh, yes. Yes, for film, but there was another one for music, and I'm trying to think of the term, and I can't. Yeah, but yes, thank you. Spaghetti Western, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I should look at that too. That's a good soundtrack. All right, 4 more minutes, guys. 4 more minutes if I can catch up with chat. It's like hanging out. Disney at its most darkest would have to be, yeah. Oh, dude, talk about a good soundtrack. What's the name of the sound? What's that name of that song that sends chills? Is it Fire? I hate to use the word hell, but is it Hellfire? Is that the name of the song? Because it is about damnation. It's about condemnation, and his lust for Esmeralda, and the imagery on top of the music. That's pretty. That's getting into some spiritual stuff. It's really, yeah. When it crosses that spiritual line, it's not that you should ban that. You shouldn't. I don't think so. But yeah, that's some deep stuff. That is a pretty heavy movie. That's a very heavy movie. I was 13 when I watched The Black Hole. I'm sorry. I was 28 or 29. The chrome face really sticks with you. Yeah. And the death of one of those crewmates was chilling. I can't remember. I know that he wasn't really a villain, but he was kind of a coward. He crashed in the spaceship so that it was pulverized. How did the other person perish? I can't remember. But I remember like one of the crewmates, they were looking around, they were exploring, and then they saw the lobotomized members. Was it the ceremony death when they cast the coffin into the black hole? Yeah. And that's the thing. Okay, I'll do a little bit of analysis there. That's the thing, is what makes that so chilling, not just because they're just these faceless lobotomized people until you see their face, which is even more frightening. They're honoring the death of a crew member. So they have enough humanity to honor someone's death, honor someone's passing. So so when you see an element of humanity in that imprisoned state, in that vegetative state, that's what makes it even worse. So it's not like they like they're zombies and they have no conscience or anything. They have some level of humanity to at least honor someone's passing. Yeah, I'm remembering this from 5 years ago. And then I was listening to Michael Jackson because yeah. Yep. All right, a few more. Yes, original Tron is great. Animation's great. Soundtrack is great. I like the new Tron, or 2004. I like the animation in the is it Daft Punk did the soundtrack for that? Yeah, that's good stuff. And it's all synthesizer, and it's it's kind of hokey, but I love that. I do love the original. I with Jeff Bridges. I mean, he's in the other one too, but yeah, I enjoyed the original very, very much. Oh, man. Well, there's your question again, Annette. Professor says, Danny Elfman's Batman theme blows me every blows away Zimmer's. Zimmer doesn't really have a theme. He has ambience. So I can see where you're saying with that. And is that the 1989 Batman? I'll have to look. Every time I think of that movie, I think of is it Kissed by a Rose or Rose on a Grave? I wanted I wanted a lot of violence, dude. I was gonna do an arrangement of that song. It's a weird song, but the harmony's awesome. It's the lyrics are absurd, actually, but it's good harmony. Yeah, I'll check it out. I definitely need to check that out. All right, guys. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. It was called Hellfire. I mean, gosh, the word hell in Disney. I mean, and I'm fine with the word hell when it's actually talking about hell. Yeah, it's so good. I have it in my mind right now. And with his baritone, who was that? Was Tony J? Is that the actor's name? He did a lot of stuff. Is that his name? He did a lot of the villains. I think he sang though too. Yeah. So I think he did. I think the guy who did. Oh, I forgot the villain's name. Help me out. That I might even watch that like after I get off. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's too tense. But the song is so good. I was listening to it when I was supposed to. For karaoke. I was supposed to mix Frozen, Let It Go. I was like, this song is awful. And so I was like, what good Disney movie or Disney music should I listen to wash out my ears? And that was the song I was singing. I was like, oh wow, this is really tense. Bernard Herrmann is considered the greatest film composer. He scored for. Oh wow, yeah, that would be tense. That'd be good stuff. Yeah. All right, almost caught up with chat, guys. I think. Tony J, yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah, he sang that. So he acted and sang. So good. Yeah, oh, chills. Just I can hear it now. Yeah. I mean, look at those lyrics. Yeah. I mean, come on. Those lyrics are amazing. I'm not even a songwriter. Forget Let It Go. Just I hope I'm not blowing the mic out of the water. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Oh, wow. It was written for kids, guys. Written for kids. But the thing is, I think kids can still understand that, even if they have, a parent to explain them. What is this? Yeah. Yeah, Kiss of a Rose. Baby. Yeah, the late Tony J. Yeah. All right. Oh, okay. Let's see. A few more, right? Moana. I could see why it's popular, but it's not the same. Yeah, the songwriting for these new princesses and these new protagonists are not the same. I'm glad I wasn't the only one to thought Let It Go was awful. When I had first heard it, I think it was on America's Got Talent. Like my roommate was watching it. I don't watch TV. But it has these cheesy keys at the beginning. Ugh. You guys, you can't pay me money to sing that. I don't think I have the talent to sing that anyway. Oh, yes. Yes, he did. That is right. Yes. Yeah, he was such a great vocal actor. Was he a real actor? Like, not real, but like he was an actor. Anyway, I hear my neighbor. I probably should call it a night, guys. But as always, it's never 90 minutes. Okay, so let's actually wrap it up with some things going on. So let's talk about next week. So I do want to talk about Star Wars in honor of Star Wars Day. I want to talk about the space opera, just the very basics. That it's genre before it's science in science fiction. This is one of my favorite genres. This is why I like Star Wars so much. Where it's about character, it's about the drama, it's about the plot, it's about the rising and building of tension. And I might make some comparisons, regarding opera, the actual opera, with Star Wars and space opera. If my friend Craig and I keep in touch this week, I'm gonna let him take the reins. That's gonna be his baby, because he's such a he's so knowledgeable about all these songs, or I should say opera as a genre. But I'm actually gonna I've been enjoying watching opera over the last couple days, and I'm gonna, I think, watch a few more, just to whet that palate, that knowledge of opera, of course. In any case, I will probably talk about more on my end, which is my specialty, which is, of course, John Williams score. It might be so extensive where I would have to, break it up and do it in a couple of sittings per week. We'll see how it goes. But definitely the drama of space opera and why the original series are so iconic and so well done, and how Williams really did what he did to make it happen, to make it what it is. Of course, it is the story, but I mean, really, that's objectively good music right there. And even if you don't like Williams, you can't say that's bad writing. I can say that as a composer. So anyway, yeah, so that will be for Monday, next Monday. I think I'm going to do a little bit of live testing for performing Monday also before teaching. If all goes well, if everything is all the troubleshooting is going fine, I'll be streaming through YouTube, but I'll be on a different platform. I won't be on stream, so I'll try to engage with chat if I can. But I think it's going to be about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of music, just me playing violin, Star Wars, of course, and yeah, and we'll get the ball rolling on hopefully some live performances in the future, whatever form that may be, or whatever form that may take. So that's for next Monday, and then I think moving forward, I probably will be more centered on music. So these recommendations, by the way, guys, thank you. If I can look into film, maybe talk about the difference between film score and music that stands on its own. So anyway, with that said, I wish you guys all a good night, and thanks always for watching and listening. And if you so desire, keep on the lookout for some sound experimentation every Thursday and live commentary every Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until next time, always keep producing the art you love, and I'll catch you later. Thanks again.